what are some things that you've changed your views on in the past 10 years? And I say 10 years because, maybe it's appropriate that the decade's just ending and a new one is starting, but loosely, like, what are some things that you've gone back on in recent history off the top?
I'm trying to think about. Give me an example of one of yours.
One of the things that I've maybe not come back around on, but my views significantly shifted, religion.
Okay.
So 10 years ago, I was way closer to the Richard Dawkins type of flavor of atheism. But I think over the years, it's hasn't changed drastically. My view on religion hasn't changed drastically, but there's some subtleties and nuances I've grown to appreciate, and some of the functionality that it's served as a social technology over the years. So, like, are you familiar with the Lindy effect?
No, it's
the Lindy effect is really a synonym for standing the test of time. It says that if something has survived in X amount of years, it's more likely to survive another X amount of years.
Yeah.
So a great example of that, for example, is the Bible, right?
Bible, yeah.
If we were to bet what book would survive 2,000 years from now, it's probably going to be the one that survived 2,000 years to this point, right?
Yeah.
So it's an interesting heuristic that, before even learning what the name of the heuristic was, I usually use personally for a lot of my personal life. When it comes to books and movies, I'm always watching and reading things from like a decade or two in the past. When something new comes out, the new pop science books, I think a lot of people might be surprised, like, oh shit, you're not up to the latest thing? And no, because the latest thing might be a trend that gets disproven and won't be around in 3 years. So I usually give it like 10 years. Guns, Germs, and Steel, I just reread it properly for the first time, like, eight months ago or something. So I usually wait like 10 to 15 years, and I go back to the books that stood the test of time. Music, kind of similar in that approach. So religion obviously survived this long, right? So there's something there. There's obviously something there from a evolutionary standpoint. An interesting point that was made by Brett Weinstein when he debated Richard Dawkins. This was 2 years ago or so. It was late 2018. I was actually trying to go, but I couldn't.
I think I might have actually gone to that one.
In Chicago?
No, I was in D.C.
No,
I believe it was...
You're thinking of Eric Weinstein.
Eric Weinstein. Oh,
Brett Weinstein is his brother.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm confusing the two.
One of the most brilliant evolutionary biologists. So him and Dawkins don't see eye to eye, specifically about religion. And he really pressed Dawkins on that. Dawkins believes religion is a mind virus. And Brett Weinstein disagreed because he pulled something really elegant here that I really appreciated in the debate, which is he weaponized one of Dawkins's pioneered theories of memetics or memes, right? And for people that are hip to the whole concept, in genetics, you have a gene, which is the smallest, unit of genetic information. When it comes to memes, it's basically the smallest unit of an idea. So a joke is a meme. That term was invented, it was coined by Richard Dawkins, I think, in the late 80s. So Brett Weinstein flipped it on Dawkins, saying, okay, well, don't you think that if religion is it's a series of it's a meme complex, don't you think it must hold some evolutionary advantage? Which is to something that Dawkins, I think, was kind of surprised that he hit him with that angle, right? Because in his mind, it's a virus, it's mindless, it doesn't make sense, it's a bunch of fables. And he proceeded to, take it further and kind of entertain this train of thought that if you treat memetics as not an independent entity, but as a layer on top of genetics, which could, hinder the evolutionary fitness of an organism, there must be something there. So that was probably I think the flipping point for me. And I was like, damn.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, it seems so obvious, but I think in Dawkins' model, genetics and memetics are distinctly separate. And I think memetics is like this entertainment layer that's not really grounded it's not really affected by the evolutionary process, and maybe I'm not doing him justice, but that's what I got out of it. And Weinstein was like, well, you're the one that invented it. Don't you think that layer on top of genetics influences the fitness of an organism? So he went a little bit further, and just from personal experience, man, seeing people that attend church. Now, are the Bible stories, the biblical stories, nonsense and metaphorical? Sure, maybe. But there is a
besides
social
the point, yeah.
There's a social function here, right? We have a community of people that believe the same thing, right? Take care of your neighbor. In times of need, they come together, they donate, they help people. And
they marry, they...
Sure.
Yeah.
And you have to be blind and really ignorant to deny that there's some sort of like a social advantage to being in a religion, right?
Oh, definitely.
So obviously that's always been in the back of my mind.
Uh-huh.
But I think that paired with Brent Weinstein's attack on memetics, basically as being a standalone thing that you could just have. It's basically having a software running in a hardware that, and it affects the hardware's fitness of survival. Mm-hmm. So that I think really was like pushed me over the edge to be like, okay, there's something here. And I don't know if it's just because it survived 2,000 years that doesn't necessarily make it correct or what have you, but it deserves some level of respect, right? It brought us some of the greatest architecture, some of the greatest paintings, art.
Yeah.
And I think that style of militant atheism, I'm further on the spectrum. My religion is science. I'm not. That's what I would subscribe to. I still do believe in a higher power, like the internet, quantum mechanics. I believe in gravity, but that's my higher power. That's what I believe in.
Yeah.
So I'm still in that sense maybe on the same axis, but I think I can't believe I'm even saying this, but just distanced myself intellectually from Dawkins, who's been like one of my idols for the longest time.
That's fascinating. I mean, I would say that myself too, I've always had a belief that there's, higher power. I would classify as like a monotheistic God. And I actually would say that I was gravitating more towards organized religion a decade ago. I went through a phase where, especially when I learned some more about the traditions of where I came from and, Afghanistan, etc. I was gravitating more towards learning about organized religion and trying to participate. I wouldn't say I'd ever converted to any religion. I was raised in a pretty, non-religious household, and but definitely that social aspect of religion was powerful, and like the idea that also it's like the whole of your traditions. It's something that links you to
your past,
your family history, and a sense of tradition. And I've definitely, as I traveled more and saw how organized religion worked in practice, I saw the kind of closeness and kind of cohesiveness it created. Mm-hmm. But also I saw that there was a lot of falseness to it, and also a lot of dogma. So I became very turned off to the idea of ever being part of an organized religion.
So we're kind of meeting in the middle here, like from different sides of the spectrum.
Yeah, I still believe strongly in God, and I believe that there's some objective truths that are kind of metaphysical in nature. But I am deeply, deeply skeptical of organized religion. Yeah. And being part of one, though I do recognize the benefits and comforts that come from organized religion. And sometimes I even kind of envy people who like got to grow up in an organized religion. You went to church, you had this group of people that you're close with and mutually supportive of. Because I see like the benefits of that, just in terms of like relationships. I thought, honestly, if I was part of a church community and I was like an atheist, I'd probably just shove about it and keep being part of the church community because like it's an enjoyable thing to be a part of, right? Like I'm not going to go sit there and like attend Bible study and talk about theology, but just like the social experience of being close to other people and having the same set of beliefs and ways of doing things, there's a comfort that comes with that.
One of the realizations, man, that I use the word to self-describe myself as an atheist, which I no longer would use because I realized that I wouldn't say the overwhelming majority of atheists aren't atheists in the traditional sense. They have a religion. It just so happens to be called science. To me, every time you, let's say, blindly place your faith in a framework of beliefs, whether it's Christianity or the second law of thermodynamics, you're taking a leap of faith where you can't explain everything, right? You just place faith that this process is correct or whatever, as close as you can get to correctness in that sense, right? So if you believe in science, like that's the key word, you believe in it. You place your belief, and there's a leap of faith that happens. So to me, I'm not an atheist. I'm a scientist. That's what I subscribe to. And God, I don't like that word either because it's very narrow and semantically limiting. But like I said, I do believe in a higher power, gravity, quantum physics, Wi-Fi. Like I can't feel it, I can't see it. It's omnipresent. It's all knowing. Wikipedia is flowing through my body right now. So I think God is a personal definition, but I think atheist, that title's got to go. Because people aren't atheists. To me, atheist, there was a description that I read 10 years ago was atheism is like the off to a TV. If Christianity and Islam are a TV channel,
it defines itself against
is off,
turning
the TV. That's not true. You're watching a different channel. You're just watching Bill Nye the Science Guy.
But because, historically, it's because you're going against a norm. You're defining yourself in opposition to that. Instead, like you said, it's not. It's a completely different channel. Right?
So
I can see what you mean there.
I would go to war with that term. I'm not an atheist. I don't think atheists are atheists, and I think there's something beautiful in framing science in a religious context. I don't think it's sacrilegious. I think there is a beauty to it, man. Like every Sunday, maybe I don't want to go to the church. I want to go to the Apple store and worship, I don't know, the design of this. You know what I mean? Like there's could be some sort of a social activity every Sunday at the Apple store that, they kind of do that with kids. They have workshops where you learn coding. They have lessons where they teach kids for free, like photography, music editing. So that's something I definitely would want to see. How dope would it be to have a science religion? But not Scientology. Scientology, like, man,
that's some other shit.
That's the brilliance in marketing.
Yeah,
the best move ever made is appropriate the term science into the fucking title. There's nothing further from science, but I think it would be dope, man, to go to the museum of air and space and have some sort of a spiritual, experience there, so to speak. Not spiritual in the sense of more emotionally heightened experience, right? Every last Sunday of the month, shut off all the lights, bring in some projectors, some fog machines, some laser, play some, you know what I mean? Like, why can't you have these
create the
experiences
kind of
that are similar, analogous to a church experience? That's what I want to see happen, man. I think it'd be dope as fuck.
Yeah, when you look at, how Catholics viewed, I always used to question, why did Catholics build these, really grand cathedrals, right, with all these aesthetics
why are we building
and art?
SpaceX?
Yeah. It's because also, when people would come and appreciate the beauty of the cathedral, it would uplift them, right? And that was kind of a shared spiritual experience is, being in this incredible place that almost seems unearthly. Yeah. So I think that if there was to be a religion based around, like you said, science or, rationalism or something like that, I think that's probably what we're going to see in the future, some religious communities forming in that direction, because I think people want that shared social experience, shared sense of awe and connection.
Why, we shouldn't be forced to bond over an ideology that we don't necessarily share. Like, science is more broader, I would argue, right, than any other individual religion. And
or you could have a religious person who believes and goes to church, but comes to the science thing after. Why not?
They're not mutually exclusive.
Yeah, they're not mutually exclusive.
They should be welcomed, right? Like, everyone should be welcomed. But it's just for people that have a different taste of what a religion should be. I think this is a huge opportunity, but maybe even a business. But a lot of people that I talked to from the previous generation, they told me that the moon landing, it's essentially the equivalent of a cathedral is St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. It's to inspire the generation to dream bigger. It's not so what's the practicality?
There was no practical value. It was the ideological value.
Exactly. It's just it makes you feel like humanity can achieve anything the same way standing in the Pantheon, 1,000 years ago, 500 years ago.
Looking up the arches of Notre Dame, you feel a certain type of way. Or, certain cathedrals I've walked to in France I've just been blown away by. And I can understand why you would feel, it's almost like holy, reverent about it.
It's great, man. It's great. But that's one thing that for sure that came to mind, the top of the list. And the funny thing is that it took science for me to appreciate religion. It's not until I analyze it from an evolutionary standpoint that I got more appreciation out of it, I feel like.
That's fascinating. That's a great example of a pretty well thought out way that you've changed over the decade. And I think it makes a lot of sense. And I think a lot of people go through that. I think we have this attraction to very single-minded, clean ideas when we're younger. Yeah. When we realize as we get older that things are more complicated and interconnected, I would say. That's
100%. You nailed it. And another function of religion that I do like is that a lot of times it is an anchor to progress, right? With Galileo and, they burned some scientists at the cross and whatnot. But I think in this day and age, it does serve as a sanctuary for certain traditions and certain beliefs of family fabric, the nuclear family. Yeah. In a day and age where, especially in fucking America, people are attacking that structure. It's not even a bad thing, but it's definitely something that is happening really fast. And they almost have, I group all of the, maybe, I don't know if they should be the left or what to call them, but it's almost like a militant approach. Like, this is the enemy. We are correct, you're wrong. And I don't think that's the right approach, right?
Yeah.
I think you should be able to choose. And I think with the left lately, in the past maybe 5 years, I've seen this change where it's very militant. Antifa, right? That's supposed to be a leftist. Dude, they're turning to fucking violence.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to hear Milo Yiannopoulos speak, so we're going to fucking riot and not let him come talk to us because we want to censor him. Like, censorship, militant approach, I don't like. And it seems like religion is serving as like kind of like this safety zone. And I see why people, especially this day and age, would gravitate to that.
Yeah, I mean, I can say from my own experience, you know, for example, like, so my mom, on my mom's side, we're Catholics, right? And when I go to France, we have, the same village where my grandpa came from. You know, our family's been there for hundreds of years. I can go to that cathedral and see, like, the name of my family written on the church, right?
That's crazy.
And that, once again, is talking about why religion's always attracted me. Is like, I'm somebody who loves history. Yeah. I love culture. I love understanding different cultures. And religion, to me, has always been a way of linking back to the same things that your, grandparents and great-grandparents believed, right? And I think that's in America, too, it's this way of life that a lot of people, they enjoyed good lives, living the way they were. They had these churches they went to on Sundays. Yeah. They had their communities. And all of a sudden, all these new ideas are coming up. They're threatening them. And it's not even about, for them, it's about finding something that's solid and kind of, in this world that's changing so quickly.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's unchangeable. Quickly.
Yeah, just like we were talking about with trade, like communities that got completely gutted by, the globalization of markets. It just happens so quickly, your head is spinning, wondering where did my entire thing in my life was built on go.